Hey, so we're going to jump right into kind of the editing process that I do when I'm using AI to help me edit. And the first part really is looking at those beta rating questions. This is the big overview of what we need to know so that we can start looking at how we can improve the book. It doesn't make sense to start with line editing when we may be cutting a huge chunk of the book or reworking it, and then we have to go back and line edit it anyway. So this is the big stuff. This is the strengths, the weaknesses. Is the romance making sense? Do we have a character who just doesn't make any sense? Is the plot kind of good enough, or is it completely out of left field and makes absolutely no sense and we have to rework everything? So these are the big questions that I'm going to be asking it. Some of these will apply to any genre, like what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, are there any unresolved conflicts? Some of it's very romance specific. I'm going to post these in the little descriptions so that you can use them and kind of see what you need for your own book. I'm doing this in Novel Crafter, but honestly you can do this in anything that you like. If you take your book that you just finished and toss it into Open Router, and whatever AI works best for you, it'll give you the exact same kind of feedback. I'm just doing it in Novel Crafter because the book's already in Novel Crafter, and it makes it really easy to edit and jump between chapters this way. So I'm going to go to write, and honestly we can do this from any of the chat with scene boxes. You can also do it from, if you go over here and go to chat, I'm going to do chat with scene, I'm going to do new chat. I'm changing my context to the entire novel. I am not using GPT-4o for this, just because GPT-4o would be really expensive. So I'm going to use one of the cheaper ones. Haiku is very, very cheap. So all I'm doing right now is actually, and this is just Google Docs. I do suggest keeping something separate, just so that you have your questions, and then you don't have to go back and pull the questions. And then I have one here that's just for editing feedback. Then you can just go bloop, blop, and send. Okay. Cute. Very nice. Thank you. Good. If you want to know the strengths, that's great. If you're like, you know what, I don't really need to know the strengths right now, I just want to know the weaknesses, that's okay too. There's many times when I just jump right into the weaknesses because I don't need to know what I'm doing well, I just need to know how to fix what I'm not doing well. So it gives some nice strengths, but let's actually get some critical feedback. This is what we need so that we can actually start improving. So, I'm just going to copy this. I'm not going to worry about copying specific parts. Just going to go like that. Okay, so it does mention pacing, so we can definitely refer back to that. And then if you're here and it gives you pacing, and it says, hey, if it's even or slow, okay. Definitely. That absolutely helps. Mm-hmm. Right. I'm going to drop that into chapter 9 in just a little bit. But let's keep it for right now. Let's not do that. Just copy here. Keep that for right now. Alright. So that is good. Actually, so we have chapter 9 is slow. Okay, chapter 11 is also slow. Okay. Just going to copy that really quick. Okay, so there's that. Okay. How about another one? Okay. Good. So I'm going to pause that right now. Let's look at unresolved conflict. Okay. Did good. Okay. So we're going to plot threads. What kind of reader would this book appeal to? Helps with marketing. Okay. blurbs are going to help us with marketing too. These are more marketing ones, and I'm not doing a sequel, but if you want it open for a sequel, you can definitely ask that. I do want to know if anything is confusing or hard to follow, since that will need to be addressed. Okay. Alright, so we do have some things for clarity, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those. So we now know clarity and pacing are definite issues that we need to address. Does the romance feel forced at all? Alright, so the romance seems okay. Okay. Definitely really good feedback. And this is why I have a second document, just so that I have everything that I want to address in a separate space. So I can go back and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do when we're going through and really changing up each chapter and going through. And now I know, hey, these are the parts that need to be addressed. We've got chapter 9, we've got chapter 11, we've got chapter 12. Once I get those addressed, I'll go back through and be like, hey, where else does the pacing feel weird? And then while I'm doing that, I can also look at secondary characters, and I can also, and chapter 14, of course, and we can look at the transitions between the scenes and chapters. We definitely could improve the secondary characters. Don't want to address this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Really good. So that we can definitely take into account. Yep. We can talk a little bit about backstories too. So plenty of things to address, but overall, it's a good bones kind of story, which, won't be too hard to fix. And then when we go back and do edits, we can keep it on the full novel text, or you can always switch it up to do individual chapters once you're actually doing, fine edits. Like word choice and repetitions and things like that. Grammar, all those fun things that we do once we have the big overarching things taken care of. This is like if you gave it to your beta reader and your beta reader came back and said, hey, by the way, your pacing's a little off. And you're like, oh, really, where? And then your beta reader says, hey, by the way, chapter 9, chapter 11, chapter 12, chapter 14, all the pacing is weird. Only your beta reader takes, a month because they have their own lives and they're probably working on their own books. In the meantime, I really want to get this book done because, editing is not my favorite thing. I enjoy the writing process. I enjoy diving into new characters and seeing what's going to happen with them. So for me, AI for editing speeds it up. I still like having humans look at it when it's later on, just to give an actual human perspective. But I don't necessarily need a human to go through and be like, hey, this chapter the pacing is weird, or hey, I need more info on the backstories, or hey, you know what, Emma and Lily, I couldn't really tell them apart sometimes. They just talk so similarly, and I know they're the same age and they've got a similar background, but I need them to be more distinct. That's all stuff that the AI just pointed out this video is not even 20 minutes. So this gives you really good feedback really quickly, and it's not expensive because we use Taiku. So this whole thing, pennies. And it's great feedback that you can then use so that your human beta readers aren't getting something that's a first draft, or even one thing that's been through some edits, but you really weren't sure where to focus your edits because it's really hard to look big picture when you get done with a book the first time. If you want to do big picture and you don't want to use AI, normally I would be like, okay, let it sit for a week, go do something else. But with AI, I'm like, okay, I can jump right back into it. I can get this done. Let's make sure that we get our editing done. Let's get it really good so that, once our actual human readers see this, they're not like, oh my God, has this book been through any edits? Did anyone look at this book before they get it? And I see those kind of comments all the time on people's books on Amazon. I'm like, it's not hard to have an AI just give you feedback. Especially when you're like, this is my first book or this is my 10th book. You need to have that feedback, absolutely. If you are coming from a publisher like I am and you're, I enjoy being self-published now. I don't really want to have my books with publishers anymore. I don't really want to give up that much control. I did that for over a decade. So I know kind of what's expected and I know what I'm looking for. If you don't have that experience, or if you're trying out a new genre, like I've tried out new genres on this channel that, I don't know what people are really expecting, and that's why the AI is so helpful. To be like, hey, you want to write a cozy mystery? Cool. This is what you need to know for a cozy mystery. This is what you need to do for that genre. This is how we're going to edit it. This is what we need to look for in beta reading. I know what romance authors and romance readers like, because that's a genre that I've been in for, almost 20 years. So given that, I know romance. I don't really know mystery, and that's why AI makes it really easy to jump into it, but you still need to do the beta reading questions like they did here. You still need to do all the edits. Edits are not fun. I mean, they probably are for some people. They're not fun for me, but they're absolutely necessary. So don't skimp on them. Take all the time you need to make sure that it's absolutely good, and then keep asking the AI, those exact same questions. Once I get through changing all the pacing, I'm going to ask it the exact same pacing questions, like, hey, is there any pacing that feels weird still? Is there anywhere that needs to be improved? Anything that I can tighten up? And I'll probably actually, once I go through all of the book and fix the pacing that it's pointed out, go chapter by chapter and be like, hey, is the pacing off in this chapter at all? Can you show me where? It's only 15 chapters. It doesn't take that long. I have another book right now that I'm almost done with. It has 59 chapters. I'm on chapter 57. That's going to take a lot longer, but it's also 142,000 words right now, and most of that will be kept. I'll probably cut about 30K, but I've been writing it and editing as I go. That's why it's taken so long. But for this book, the edits won't take that long. I estimate about 6 hours total, and that's including, asking the questions, going through it, doing the edits, because it really doesn't take that long. It just takes focus. It can't be something where you have, a TV show on in the background, because, you have to be paying attention. Things are going to slip by, but at least with the AI, you can get that instant feedback, and you're not waiting, a week for your editor to get back to you, or a month for your beta reader to get back to you, because people have lives, and we can't expect them to drop everything for us. And beta readers get tired, or editors get tired, and it's not their fault, but the AI can absolutely help in those early stages of beta reading and editing, so that they can have something a lot cleaner to focus on, and they're not getting bogged down by word choice and grammar, and they can really help you fine-tune your story so that it's absolutely the best that it can be. So thank you so much for watching this. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to post those questions that I ask in the little description so that you have them. Make sure to tailor them to your own book and your own genres so that you can get the most out of the AI that you're asking for.